All right, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Chuck. Today we're taking the show out to the New Leaf Event Center where we are having, I believe it's the 16th annual Ashtabula County Basketball Foundation. These men will correct me if I'm wrong.
Wrong again.
17. Yeah, 17, okay. 2003, right?
Close enough.
Yeah, okay. Not very good at math. Well, I got my co-founders of it, Mike Joslin and Nick Irochi. And I tell the story every time I have these guys on. I remember we were at the basketball table in 2003. You guys were thinking about it, I think, at halftime. And how have you seen it grown through the years?
Oh boy, more than we could ever imagine. You know, we pictured, we didn't have the Hall of Fame idea at the time, so it was strictly the high school athletes. And we pictured the Banquet being a lot smaller than this. But then once we came up with the Hall of Fame idea, of course, it blossomed over the years into what it is today.
It sure has blossomed. And Nick, what are your feelings on that?
Just amazed. I mean, you know, where we were, where we've come. And a lot of what is going on today is as a result of Michael Barton. Mike Barton is our administrative coordinator, and he's done a great job. And, you know, we are really pleased to be here at the New Leaf Event Center. They provide an outstanding venue for us. Our first 15 years was at the Human Resource Center, but we've grown to a point where this is just adapting very well with our needs here, and it's going to be a great event tonight.
Michael Bartell indeed has done a great job, and so has your board of directors. You guys want to tell the board of directors, the ones that we currently have they been with us since we've been on board? Have we gained some new ones?
We have a couple charter members, but along the way, you know, we've added new ones as we've seen fit. We try to keep 12 to 15 directors on at all times, and they're also so dedicated to what we do that they're the backbone of this whole foundation. You know, Mike Bartone does a lot of the grunt work, but the foundation or the directors that we've had, we can't say enough good things about it.
And these board of directors, do they all work together on everything, or is each one responsible for certain things for putting on this event?
Well, when we come together during our meetings, we're all collaborating and working together, but it seems like everybody has their own niche. And
we do have committees.
Right, we have committees, and of course we have our golf outing in memory of Tom Henson. So there's that golf committee and fundraiser. We have a fundraiser there. So everybody seems to have their own little niche, and you know, credit to Andy Shackle this year. He's done a great job of stepping up and a lot of the work for the organization. Of course, the president, Brad Ellis, Chris Blair, who wrote all the articles, the supplement for the Star Beacon, always does a great job. So everybody seems to have their own little thing that they do.
Chris Leonard does an outstanding job. Every detail you want to find about an athlete.
Oh, he's so thorough. I mean, without this, we'd be in trouble without Chris. And we said from the start, you know, we had Carl Pearson at one time. Carl did a lot of that road. When we lost Carl, Chris stepped up and took everything on his back. What he does for us with that tab and the memories he creates for all these Hall of Famers and their families, it's fantastic.
Nick, a one-time evening event, you switched it a few years ago down to the afternoon. What differences have you seen from that?
I think we've got really good attendance because of the time change, and we've done a lot. It's taken us a while, but we've done a lot to streamline the program. So we're at about 2 hours, less than 2 hours of the event. So people are getting out of here when it's still light out at a reasonable hour, and they can even do some things on Sunday evening that they need to do. So it works out very well. No conflict with anything on Sunday afternoon, and of course here at church on Sunday.
Fits right in.
We fit right in here at the
And Chuck, I think, I'm pretty sure that this year's event is the most tickets we've ever sold.
That's wonderful.
So it may be our largest.
Usually have, if not a sellout, very close to it.
So we're excited.
Mike, put your brain to. I've got to think that this is the warmest it's been. I think it's 70 degrees. Do you recall one warmer?
No. I think this is. We've always had good weather over the last 17 events. Maybe I can remember 1 or 2 bad weather days. So we've been lucky to have it this time of year.
Mike, moving on to something else now. Congratulations on being Sixth of the Year for Tanya. A well-deserved award.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And Nick, I want to congratulate you too, as you're going to become a deacon here in a very few months. A lot of work put in for that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chuck. I'm looking forward to it. We've got still some work to do. Right now I'm working on my moral theology paper that's due next weekend. And there's still a lot of work ahead for the next 6 months, but I'm really looking forward to serving the church and serving my God, our God.
And Nick's biggest challenge is he has to save me. He's got his work cut out for him, but he's working on it.
It'll happen.
Chuck's got faith. I have the faith.
Nick also,
Oh no, there we go.
It's already done.
one final thing, then I'll let you guys go, because I know you're real busy today. Nick, also, you've announced that you are going to run for judge for the city of Conneaut. We want to wish you the best of luck there. How excited are you about it?
Very excited. Yeah, it'll really meld if folks in our great community choose me and want me to come back. I think it will meld with what I'm trying to do for the church in town, and I'll be able to focus on Conneaut and Conneaut. Actually, the county's a big county. Folks will realize it's a big territory, a lot of the largest county in the state. There's a lot going on, and the county prosecutor is pretty busy. Right in front. Judge and focus on
I think Conneaut and Ashtabula County both are very proud to have two of the greatest men I know, Mike Joslin and Nick Irochi. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Thanks for all you do.
Thanks. We'll be back with more interviews from the ACBF. All right, back here with Michael Bartone, Executive Administrator of this Ashtabula County Basketball Foundation. The two gentlemen we had on before, Mike Joslin and Nick Irochi, talked very highly about you, Michael. How hectic is it going to be today?
Actually, you know, it's not so much hectic. I think all the years that I've been involved, the past 4 years now that I've been involved, this is probably the biggest turnout that we're going to see. I think we have close to 300, if not over 300. I think it's because of the Edgewood, Dreslinski that's getting inducted, and of course the Pape and Lions contingency is coming. So yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
You have a pretty close heart for two of the guys from Conneaut here, Mike Pape and Tony Lyons. Why don't you tell our viewers why that is?
Well, because back in the No Mercy Tour days, the 94-95 season, when they had one heck of a season, I was the vice president of the stage crew, and you know, we really, I have to say, I saw Mike Pape and Tony Lyons, and I said I was kind of disappointed when I read their articles. There was no mention of the stage crew, and half the reason why they were as good as they were was because of that stage crew. So they're going to make mention in their speeches today of the stage crew, no doubt.
And they're going to make mentions of that stage crew, because I'm going to ask them about it when I talk to them. Mike, talk a little bit about the board of directors. I know I talked with Mike and Nick about it. Do they all share in the same role, or does each board of director have something they're going to be doing differently here today?
Each director has their own responsibility as far as presenting the awards. Each board member has a designated person that they are going to present awards to. Of course, we have Diamond Dave Miller doing the Hall of Fame inductions and announcements as he always has in the past. And but they're a great group of guys to work with. I'm so privileged and honored to be a part of this foundation.
Mike, when it comes to choosing the award winners, is that based on the board of directors, or does other people vote on that too?
It's solely the Ashtabula County Basketball Foundation Board of Directors who kind of compile all their stats, the information, and they pretty much hash it out. And in the past, I mean, typically it's been whatever the Ashtabula County Star Beacon has named the Player of the Year, Coach of the Year. But sometimes in the past, there's been a few twists because they feel that other players were actually better player. I don't know what's going to happen this year. We'll find out. I'm excited because I'm not privy to that information, so we'll see.
I'm excited too, and I think there's some really good candidates out there, at least on the boys basketball side. I mean, I follow the boys. I'm sure there are on the girls as well. but there's about 3 or 4 candidates that we can include in there for the boys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you and I think, are on the same page. We definitely know there are a few others, aside from the front runner, who, everybody is tabbing, player, boys and girls of the year and coaches of the years. There are really good contenders for that position.
We always talk about player awards, but Michael, something you guys have added, or maybe it's been from the beginning, but it seems like it's been added years ago, is you now honor a referee. How has that gone over?
Well, because let's face it, we know referees, they sometimes get the good how do I want to say, they get the good accolades, but sometimes they get the bad accolades, and we want to just recognize them for just the work that they do, aside from, they all work normal 9 to 5 jobs, and then you see them in the evenings working as referees. So we want to just give them a proper shout out that we appreciate them.
Well, Michael, you guys put on a great event, continued success.
Thanks, Chuck, and you do a great job with the cable access channel. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Bartone, Executive Director of the ACBF, and we'll have more interviews here. All right, we continue our interviews. I have 2 former great Conneaut Spartan basketball players who will be inducted into the Hall of Fame today here at the ACBF. Tony Lyons to my immediate left and Mike Pape to his left. And thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Good to see both Tony and Mike, as you've gotten taller over the years. How much taller have you grown since high school?
I have not grown actually.
Then I've shrunk.
Maybe.
A little shorter, probably. I don't think I've gotten taller. Would be nice.
Let's take a look back at the years you played in the mid-90s, right?
Yes.
The great teams of 95. Was it
It
95?
was 93, 94, 94, 95 was the 2 years that we won the NEC.
Okay, let's look back at that. I read some of the articles that Chris Larrick did on both you. We'll start with you, Mike. Is there any particular game that stands out for you that you could remember that will always stay with you?
I don't think there's any one particular game. I think every single game that we played as a team was simply amazing. Great to be, playing with these guys, and so every experience. Not one game really kind of sticks out in my mind.
I would say all the games. I mean, I've covered them. I would say every one of the games that you 2 gentlemen have played. How about you, Tony?
There actually is one game that really sticks out in my mind. It was actually our senior year. We had played at Harvey earlier in the year. The second game was at our house. And apparently one of our JV players had left our Conneaut Spartan socks in their locker room. Well, whenever we came out, they always let the visiting school come out. So all of a sudden, our fans just went absolutely nuts, and we were in. You remember this? We were in the hallway. Yeah, we were in the hallway, and our fans were going crazy. We had no idea what was going on. We run out. And then we realized that they're wearing our socks in our house. And I think we ended up beating them 120 to 46. And needless to say, second half, the guy didn't come out in our socks the second half.
I do remember that 120-point game put up against Harvey. I think the coach at the time said we needed to score more points.
Hey, for them doing that, they deserved it. So.
Tony, I understand from what I read, I didn't realize this, that you really you were more into football than you were into basketball, right? Talk about that story, how you developed becoming a basketball player.
Yeah, I was not involved at all with playing basketball at all. I really wanted to be a wide receiver. That was kind of my thing. And whenever Mr. Coxon asked my dad if I could play with these guys, I didn't know any of these guys at all. And whenever he asked me, and I'll speak about this today, I just fell in love with it pretty quickly. They laughed at me a little bit my first practice, but
we were happy to take him in.
Mike definitely took me under his wing. I mean, he was obviously very skilled and knew what he was doing. I was pretty clueless when it came to basketball, so I learned a lot from him.
Of Of course, the two of you were part of the big three. We want to remember Danny Coxon as well, who was inducted into the Hall of Fame not too long ago. But you guys had some secondary players on that team. Travis Hayes comes to mind. Jason Tharp comes to mind. Mike, I'll ask you, how important were they to your team? Because when we look at your team, we talk about the three of you, and we should talk about the three of you. But they were a great supporting cast. Talk a little bit about them.
Well, I think it's important that, you have kind of secondary players in place that can fill roles. If one of us is in foul trouble, somebody needs to come off the bench and kind of, fill those shoes a little bit. And we had certainly plenty of players to do that. So, and I think it's, yes, this is a great opportunity for us, but, it really is involved in the entire team and players that can kind of, come off the bench and kind of take care of things on the court for us, and they certainly did do that.
Yeah, they certainly did. They were a great group of players on a great team. You played for two coaches, I believe, Greg Mason and Kent Houston. Tell me their coaching styles. What did you learn from both of them?
My first 2 years was with Greg Mason, and he was a good guy. He was a fiery guy, but he was always very fair. He was definitely instrumental in my development.
Kent was fiery too, though.
Yeah, he was. We were pretty refined at that point in time, but he definitely played a huge role in, especially from a defense perspective. I think that was probably one of the things that, he did a great job with us with being able to communicate and work together.
Mike, when you were contacted that you were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, what was the first thing that crossed your mind?
I was honored. I mean, it was, grateful. Very, very happy to be part of this elite group.
Tony, same question.
Yeah, it was obviously a great honor. I'm very excited. I was very excited that I was going in with Mike. It would have been nice if it would have been all three of us, myself, Danny, and Mike, but I was very happy for him and all the other inductees.
One final question for the two of you, and Michael Bartone wanted to make sure I got this one in. I think you already know what it's going to be. When he read your write-ups in the paper, he says, neither one of you mentioned the stage crew, especially at one time when it was 2-0 and they were already shouting, "This game is over."
Yeah, well, we're going to cover that during my speech tonight, so.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
I
So,
can't wait to hear that.
to answer your question, the stage crew certainly helps to, it probably added 25 points to, home games, so.
25 points. I remember an Edgewood fan saying that stage crew at that time was worth at least 10 points, but 25. Tony, what about you?
Yeah, it was the atmosphere, and I'll speak about it today. But the atmosphere that we were able to play to play under, it was fantastic. It was second to none. From the stage crew to the fact that the games were in most cases sold out 2 hours before the game even started. You couldn't ask for anything better than that, especially from a high school perspective.
Yeah, well, you guys were great. So was the basketball team. Congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame. I can't wait to hear your speeches, and good luck to both of you.
Thank you.
Tony Lyons and Mike Pape, my guests here at the ACBF. All right, we found Brad Ellis, who is the president of the Ashtabula County Basketball Foundation. Now, Brad, how long have you been president now?
I believe this is my 5th year as the president. So it's enjoyable. This is a great event. Takes a lot of effort and by all the board of directors and Mike Joslin and Nick Irochi and Michael Bartone do a great job, but it's worth it.
Brad, in your 5th year now that you said you've been doing this, how have you seen the ACBF grow in those 5 years?
Well, we've the one nice thing is we're at the New Leaf, which is a very nice venue, so that's just a beautiful place here. And I think the Banquet has been getting bigger and bigger. I believe last year we had 240 some attendees at the Banquet, and this year we're just under 300. So it's getting bigger and bigger. And as a matter of fact, I think we have a smaller Hall of Fame class too. Last year I think we had 12 or 13 members, and this year I believe we have 10, and we have almost 300 people. So a good turnout, and that's nice to see. I think the longer we've done it, the bigger it's gotten.
When we talking about the Hall of Fame class, when we go to select those individuals, do we try? Is the thought process to try and get somebody from all the schools, or it just goes how it goes?
You know, I think we do initially, but if it doesn't, you know, we don't want to put someone in that doesn't deserve to be in. So we kind of look at it that way to begin with when we first start looking for that year's next class. But you know, that doesn't always work that way. And again, we want to make sure that they're deserving of being into the Hall of Fame.
You mentioned Mike Jocelyn and Nick Irochi, the co-founders of this event. 17 years ago, when I had them on earlier, I thought it was 16, but they said it's 17 years that they have thought of this event. They do a great job, but now they kind of stay back and let you and the rest do all the work.
Yeah, they don't want to get in front of it. They like to sit in the back and just relax, which is fine. But they started this. They had a great vision to start this. I talked to people in Lake County that are amazed on what we do here. They don't have anything like that. And for Ashtabula County to do the touchdown club, the basketball, the foundation, the track started the Hall of Fame, Ashtabula County does a great job.
Brad, let's talk briefly about the just completed basketball season. Your Geneva Eagles, team that you teach over there at Geneva, I think that they were one of the most surprising teams. I don't know if that's even the word I want to use. Second half of the season, they came on like gangbusters, and they even won a couple tournament games over a couple of big schools. Eric, is it Bowser? Eric
yep.
Bowser. Talk about him and how that team was able to turn things around.
Well, I think the big thing, they were 8-8 at one point in the season, and I think there were some things going on behind the scenes that, guys were more worried about statistics than wins, and I think finally it clicked in with them, hey, if we play the way we're capable of playing, we're going to win some basketball games, and they ended up winning. I think they won 9 or 10 in a row there at the end of the season, beat Lake Catholic in the district semis and lost this. It gave St. Joe's a good game in the district final. So just an outstanding group of young men that decided they wanted to play together, and Eric did a great job with them this year.
They did do a great job, and I am so proud of them. And it's going to be interesting to see who gets selected as the most valuable player for the boys team. I know there's 5 great players there for the Edgewood Warriors. I know the St. John Heralds had a great player. Without giving anything away, do you have anybody in mind that you like?
You know what? The thing about it is this year, too, is there's 2 young men that reached the 1,000-point plateau, and we have 2 girls that reached the 1,000-point plateau. So that was when it came to decision time, it was very difficult amongst the committee or the board of directors when we voted. We took Andy Jahola is in charge of gathering all the information from the coaches on both boy and girl player of the year, and we sat down and had an interesting conversation. But the young man and the young woman that earned this honor it's well deserved.
We talk about player awards, but one award that you guys give out, I don't know if it's been since 2003, but you've added it, is the referee award. They don't usually get too many accolades. I think that's a great honor to honor one of the referees.
Well, it is, and it's something that they've done from the get-go. And I think it's a great honor because this is probably the only place that when they're announced, we announce the official, and it doesn't have to be the best official, it's just somebody that puts in the time and somebody that does a great job and they can always count on. And but this is probably the only place that they get an ovation from everybody. Usually it's they blow their whistle, they get half the crowd likes it and half the crowd doesn't. So this is a place for them, and it is a nice, I'm glad that we do that because it is a nice honor to recognize them for their hard work because they're a big part of the game, and without them it would be difficult to play these high school games. So they do a great job, and we like to honor one of those, and like I said, they get an ovation from everybody today.
Well, Brad Ellis, you do a great job also. You were a great coach, Hall of Fame, and it's just amazing the good work that you do and continued success.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Brad Ellis here at the ACBF. All right, we're back here at the ACBF. I have a good friend, Dave Miller, with me. Dave's always gracious to come on and talk to us. Dave, how are things going for you?
Things are going great. It was a great basketball season. We had a ton of games to call, got to make some trips down south for some tournament games. It's a whole lot of fun.
Talking to Brad Ellis, your basketball partner. Is there any game this year that you did that stands out?
The Edgewood tournament games, the game against Pymatuning Valley was a huge game. It ended up going to overtime. Edgewood ended up pulling it off in the end, but, Edgewood went through the entire regular season pretty much unbeatable, and then all of a sudden Pymatuning Valley there in that Warren district really gave them a game that I don't think Edgewood was ready for, and took them about as close as you can get to knocking them out. It ended up being a 10-point game in the end, but it was a lot closer than that up until the very end of the game. So it was a lot of fun to watch. It was a lot of fun to call.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And of course, the Edgewood Warriors are powerhouse, great ball club. A couple other teams I was talking with Brad Ellis, and it'd be interesting to see what you say as well, were the St. John Heralds and the Geneva Eagles. The seasons they had in their second half and being able to win tournament games. Talk a little bit about how those two teams turned around in your view.
Well, Geneva never really surprised me. Every year going into the season, Coach and I would talk, and I said, Geneva's one of those teams that they play as a team. One guy doesn't take over. They play as a team. When they play as a team, they'll be able to win games. And for me, it was just a matter of getting in tune with the new coach's playbook and what it was he was looking to do. And once they did that, they were off and running. For St. John, they've always been a great team. Coach Turner has those kids coached up well. And of course, Jacob Artman just had a monster season for them. And, he was able to kind of carry that team forward. It was great to see them in the tournament as well and do well in the tournament.
Like I said, Edgewood stands out, but it's going to be interesting to see this year's winners for the awards, especially in the boys basketball. I think you could almost make a case for all 5 Edgewood Warriors. You mentioned Jacob Artman. I think he led the league in rebounding. I think he led the league in scoring as well. Joined the 1,000-point club. And not only players, but I think, and Bowler, of course, as coach of the year, but you can also throw Bowser and Turner in there as well. What are your thoughts on all that?
When it comes down to coaching, you look at the success of the teams, and you can't argue with Edgewood's success. You can't argue with what they've done. And Coach Bowler, he's built a program that, you look at their roster next year, and sure, they're not going to be quite as good as they were this year. They're still going to be pretty tough to deal with going forward as well. You can't necessarily say that right now when you look down the rosters at Geneva or at St. John, but then again, you're looking at 2 coaches who are relatively new and are still working to build those programs up. So I think when you talk about Coaches Awards, you kind of look at that kind of stuff as well.
Of course, Dave, you're going to be emceeing the Hall of Fame class again in 2019. How is it as each year goes? How much more excited do you get doing that?
Well, you know what? We're starting to get to the people I've seen play and the people that I know as well. So I'm really excited to see them come back. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for their families. I get to kind of stand around and talk with people again, where 6 years ago when I started doing this, I didn't necessarily know everyone that was going in. So I was kind of off to the side, just kind of listening to the stories. But now I've gotten to take part a little bit in what has happened and what they did in the past. For me as a spectator and an announcer, as a commentator, getting to take part in that. So it's nice to see some of these people that I know getting in, and it's great to relive some of the memories.
Of course, this year, Dave, you also broadcast football games, but I don't believe you did too many of them this year. Do you like football better, or do you like basketball better?
Honestly, I like doing basketball better. The faster the pace of play, the easier it is to call a game. I always say with a football game, I need about 3 days preparation to kind of sit down. I need to talk to the coach. I need to really kind of do some homework before because you don't really get a chance to talk to anybody right before a game in football. Basketball's nice. I can walk in, you can hand me a couple rosters, tell me who's starting. I have a couple of questions for the coach real quick, and 5 minutes of prep, we're good to go, we're off and running, and we're having a good time. So for me, I enjoy the basketball.
Well, Dave Miller, you do a great job at broadcasting sports. You do a great job at emceeing this ACBF Hall of Fame class, and continued success to you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Dave Miller, our guest here at the ACBF. Okay, we're back here at the ACBF, and I've got one of the better players playing high school basketball this past season, Jacob Artman of the St. John Heralds. Jacob, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Jacob Artman, of course, plays for the St. John Heralds, had a tremendous season. I want to talk a little bit about that. Jacob, I know you joined the 1,000-point club this year, and I believe you had a 40-point-plus game this year. Talk about that particular game, what was working for you on that particular night, and who that was against and where.
So that game was against Neo Prep. It was during like the middle of the season. We had kind of a rough start in the beginning, but once we kind of got everything going and everyone was kind of working together, everyone was just able to find the ways to have success. It was really a team effort, though, for me to have that kind of a scoring outburst that night. Without the help from everybody and the assistants, I definitely wouldn't have had that kind of a scoring game. Everyone was just making the right plays, the right passes, and it was just a team thing. It really was.
You mentioned a rough start to the season, and you guys certainly did have that. Curtis Turner, the coach of your team, was able to find a way to turn that around. Talk a little bit about Curtis Turner and what did he implement in the second half of the season where you guys went on a tear and even won a tournament game or two.
Oh, I have so much respect for Coach Turner. He's been with the school for so many years. He's truly an amazing guy on and off the court. He's so supportive. But it really was something that he kind of had to try to rally everyone together and be supportive and positive of everybody. He was willing to give up his time and everything just to make sure that we had everything that we needed, no matter if it was with basketball or not. He was always just there for us, and he always had our backs, no matter what.
I got to see you play a couple of times this year, of course, against the Conneaut Spartans. You mentioned the rough start. You started with the Conneaut Spartans. The first half of that game, you guys did not play well, but in the second half, you played well, and so did the team. And then the second time around, you could see the big difference when you were here in Conneaut playing. You had the big night. And talk about those two games and what went right for you in that second matchup against Conneaut versus the first matchup. What adjustments did you have to make?
Well, so the second part of the season was when we played Conneaut for the second time. So we had everything going for us. We were ready, we were hungry, and of course that first game we were just that taste was still in our mouth, that bitterness. So we definitely wanted another shot at them, and we came out there and we were ready to play. As were they. They were hungry, they were aggressive, and I have so much respect for Coach Talbacca and his guys. They are just such an amazing group of guys. They work so hard, and it was very evident on the court. Their aggressiveness on the boards and their aggressiveness with scoring was really what helped them in that first game. But we wanted it, and it was definitely something that we all wanted to get done.
Absolutely. You guys played very well in that second half. When I did my basketball preview with the Spartans at the beginning of the season, and we talked about that first game against you guys, because that was the first game on the schedule, and they said they were pretty familiar because they played with you guys, I think they said in the summer?
I think that we had like an open gym kind of like thing with them, just to kind of get our bearings going and get all the guys together and just kind of start off the season, and just get some time in the gym.
I remember talking to Mike Furrow and Blaine McLaughlin in the preview, and I said, "Well, what do you got to watch for against St. John in game one?" And Furrow says, "They got this guy that's like 6'7", 6'8", and then Blaine said, "No, I think he's more like 6'5". But they said no matter what height he is one player we got to watch."
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I love those guys. I play with them down at Township all the time. They're a bunch of hecklers, and they love to mess around, and it's great to have that kind of energy on the court. That sense of just kind of being there and just having fun, and at the end of the day, that's all it can really be.
Jacob, St. John's School, I just had an opportunity to talk to Sister Maureen Burke the other day, took my show out there and did an interview with her. They've had some great sports teams this year, and currently one of the greatest teams going there is the tennis team. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you are, could you talk a little bit about that? I think a couple of them played basketball.
Yes. I am a little bit familiar with them. Definitely an amazing group of guys there too. They all play so hard. I'm sure you're familiar with Tony Masucci. He was an excellent.
I'm Italian.
He's an excellent tennis player and basketball player. He actually is playing at Mount Union, playing tennis. He's an amazing guy, amazing athlete, and they all work so hard, and it shows.
And of course, the football team went to the playoffs, the only team in Ashtabula County to make the playoffs, led by quarterback David Cumberledge. Talk a little bit about the football team, if you can.
Oh, I played football last year, and it was the first time I'd played in a very long time. But Coach Nisley convinced me to come out along with Christian Blank and David Cumberledge. Both of those guys are tremendous athletes, and both of them work extremely hard at their craft, and I can't, have any more respect for them because that's all they do. That's all they worry about. That's all they think about is just what can I do to be better? And, that's the only recipe for success. So.
Jacob Artman, my guest. Jacob, how excited are you today for the ACBF here and the possibility of maybe winning an award?
I'm extremely excited. I'm extremely honored. This is never something that I dreamed possible. It's just with the support that I've had throughout the years, it's truly a thing that everybody has accomplished because it's not just me.
I think it's going to be tough this year to select an MVP for the boys. Edgewood had this great basketball team. All 5 of their seniors were great. You led the league in rebounding, and you led the league in scoring. If I was voting, and I don't get a vote, Jacob, you're the person I'm going to vote for.
Thank you.
But we'll see what happens, and I want to wish you the best of luck at that.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Okay, Jacob Artman of the St. John Herald's my guest here on the ACBF.
It's for the Conneaut TV channel?
Yes. All right, we are back here at the ACBF, and we have the athletic director of St. John's School, along with the girls basketball coach, Nick Irochi, with me, and one of his star players, Emily Severa. To both of you, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us. It's always a pleasure to come out to this venue. It's a great event you guys do, and I'm happy to be here. And like you said, with my star, Emily.
Yeah, thanks for having us out here.
Had a chance to talk to Sister Maureen Burke. I took my show out there a couple weeks ago. You weren't there. I was hoping you were there, but you had an appointment somewhere. What a fantastic job Sister Maureen Burke did. I was there for an hour with her.
Yeah, Sister Maureen's amazing. She don't really get caught up on, worrying about making people happy and making people sad. She does what's right for the school, and she doesn't ever have an ulterior motive. Her idea is just making St. John an alternative education for people of Ashtabula County. Our faith-based education is what we rely on, and Sister Maureen's amazing at what she does.
Before we talk a little bit about your girls program there, Nick, with the basketball team, it's been a great sports year in general for the St. John Heralds, and currently, how about the tennis team? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, no question about it. I wish I had more time to talk about all of the sports up there. We kind of hang with the saying, less is more. We don't have a lot of kids, but the kids we have, we rely on our quality. And in reference to tennis courts, Coach Nassif's the local guru. And, I think he could teach you how to play tennis, Chuck.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, Todd does a great job, and we're so super proud of all of our sports up there. And, we don't really get caught up in one-loss records either. It's just a matter of playing the game the right way and playing high school sports the way it's supposed to be played.
Like I said, it's just been a fantastic sports year. It started in the fall, of course, with your football team, the only team in Ashtabula County to go to the playoffs. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was a wonderful feeling. We were really excited. And, we have a strong tradition in football at St. John. And, kind of went away for a while, and we had a couple bad years, but we always kept plugging away. And Coach Nicely and his staff did a fantastic job making the team's run for the playoffs.
I had a chance to talk with your star basketball player there, Jacob Artman, a few moments ago, having a great year. There's a boys team there that really turned their season around, won a couple of tournament games. For my money, and I know, and I'm not taking anything away from the Edgewood Warriors because they had a great 5 seniors play, but for my money, if I'm voting and I don't get a vote today, he's my MVP.
Yeah, Jacob Artman is a fantastic basketball player, and I agree with you. He's my vote for the MVP too. Jacob's a hard worker. He gets the most out of his athletic ability, and we're very lucky at St. John that he decided to transfer over, and I'm kind of bummed, and I know Coach Turner is, that he's going to be graduating.
We're going to give you a little bit of a break, but I want you to stay here and help Emily out, because I don't know much about Emily Severa, but I'm sure you do. Emily, what's it like playing for this guy?
Oh, it's great. It's to be able to just shoot the ball and everything. On a lot of other teams, you're not able to do that.
When you look at your play this year, how would you say it went?
Pretty good.
And you play what position?
I'm a shooting guard.
Shooting guard, okay. And Nick, I remember we talked a few years ago. You weren't too big of a fan of that three-point shot, but now you have become a fan, and your team has done very well at that.
Yeah, absolutely. What I've realized about basketball today, you have to evolve, and I call it modernized coaching, and that's just the way the game's played now. I was brought up to play the game from the inside out. Now it's played from the outside in. And when you got players like Emily, and she's being very humble right now, she's the definition of a shooting guard. She was the state leader in Division III in threes for the year, and she'll be the all-time record holder of threes in the county for her career, and she'll go over 1,000 points next year. And it was kind of cool. I got to introduce her to a very special player, Kelly Tinney, and hopefully Emily will have a shot at breaking a record next year, and Kelly's excited about it too.
I was going to say you coached Kelly Tinney. She's being honored today as one of the Hall of Fame. What can you tell us about Kelly Tinney that you will always remember?
It's amazing that you asked me, and I'm glad you did, and I just told her what I'm going to tell you. They don't make them like Kelly anymore. Kelly was the first one to practice and the last one to leave, and she worked even harder on her off days. Kelly was just sheer hard work and determination, and which made her get her place in the Hall of Fame today.
Nick, it's always a treat to talk to you. And, of course, Emily Severa, and continued success over there. I think St. John's School is coming a long ways from where it's been the last few years, and the sports is just growing and growing and growing.
Very good, Chuck. Thank you, and always kudos to you and your staff. What a wonderful job you do for the students and athletes in the area. Thank you so much.
Thank you, too. Nick Irochi and Emily Severa, the St. John Heralds. All right, back here at the ACBF, I have Star Beacon sports writer with me, Brendan Feeney. Brendan, how's it going?
Hey, can't complain. It's a beautiful day. Glad one day for basketball to kind of wrap up the season, so great day for it.
Always a treat to talk to Brendan, and because Brendan loves sports, obviously, or he wouldn't be writing about it. Brendan, what's the most exciting thing you saw this year in any of the sports so far that you have covered?
Has to be the district semifinal this year, Division III between Edgewood and PV. The two local teams there, just makes that exponentially better, and the game it was going into overtime, first of all, but PV was there with Edgewood. I don't think too many people gave the Lakers a chance in that game, and they took it to Edgewood, forced overtime, and game of the year in my eyes.
I would have to agree with that. It's been a great season for boys basketball, at least for Edgewood. Pymatuning Valley had a good season, as did St. John and Geneva, especially in the second half of those seasons. I know you've covered a lot of Edgewood games. Talk to me about that team and how you saw it grow as each game went on with a veteran group of seniors.
That was a team where everyone just knew their roles, and that's what made it fun to watch. You always hear cliche players talk about, I'd rather get the win than score 30 points, but that team truly believed it. Whether it was Hayden, you can't get that guy to brag about himself at all. He would rather score 0 points all season and win the game than vice versa. Aaron Anderson impacted games more than anyone, maybe all season, in games that he didn't score at all. Everyone on that team had the ability to score 20, but they were perfectly happy scoring 0. That was a team that just knew its roles. They were smart on the court, had a great coach, but also a coach that knew how smart they were as well, and he let them play to their strengths. And as Coach Sean said, after that regional district semifinal game that we were talking about, they were across the board perfect, and they had no weaknesses.
I think it's going to be very interesting and exciting to see who gets the MVP for the boys basketball team. You can almost make a case for all 5 of those Edgewood Warriors, Jacob Zappatelli being one of them. You can make a case definitely for Jacob Artman of the St. John Heralds, who led in scoring and rebounding in the county. And even for coaches of the year, of course, Bowler with the great season he had, and then Bowser, how he turned the season around, and Chris Turner as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes down here today from the board of directors.
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, all the Edgewood players have their own argument. Hayden won it last year. Aaron Anderson is a quarterback on the team. Sam German probably doubled anyone in the county in steals, it felt like. Like you mentioned, Artman was a double-double machine this year, capable of going 20 and 10 every game. You look at Austin Roberts, how he led PV, and even Nick Stoltz. Nick Stoltz averaged, I think, something like 18 points, 19 points a game, 9 rebounds. He was guarding Luca Eller, the 6'8" player from Menor Lake Catholic, in that upset in the district regional semifinal in Division II, and the coaches too. Bowler, any year a coach goes 24-2 and wins your district championship, you think it's a no-brainer, but first-year coach Eric Bowser took that team to an upset over Lake Catholic, and they gave Villa a run for their money, especially in that first half. And you mentioned Shantz as well. no one, I don't think, gave PV a chance going into that game against Edgewood. They lost by 30, 33 points in the opener against them, and they took them to overtime, and he had his players believing that they could pull it off, and they almost did.
Sorry, but we got Mike Greco over here, the sports center, who does an outstanding job with the Beacon. Sorry, Mike, I got to ask Brendan this question. How about those Phillies?
How about those Phillies? You got to love it. Everyone was talking about Bryce Harper before the offseason, but it is not just Bryce Harper. Andrew McCutchen is a Sorry, I could talk about this for an hour. I won't do that to you, but it is exciting. And I believe just now they were up 2-1. They were down earlier. Reese Hoskins, MVP candidate, hit a home run himself to get the 2-1 lead. So it's fun. It's exciting.
What if the Indians and the Phillies met in the World Series now? You know, Mike's a big Indians fan. You're a big Phillies fan. How's this going to work out?
All I can say is we will be fighting for who has off when the games are in Cleveland. We will be fighting to have off those days so we can both go to that. You know what? Sports section, 365 days of paper, 2-3 home games. I don't think anyone's going to be mad. 362. Maybe we'll just postpone and we'll both go to the game, but that would be amazing.
Well, I think the Philadelphia Phillies are going to have a great season. Whether they go all the way or not may depend on where they're at around the All-Star break, what they do before the trading deadline, but they're certainly going to have a great season. I'm happy for you.
Absolutely. Appreciate that.
Brendan Feeney, my guest here at the ACBF.